turned down by Russia for any kind of peace negotiation, then he might step up support for Ukraine. And that is the very faint hope here this morning.
James Waterhouse there with the view from Kyiv, speaking to my colleague John Kay. You're live with BBC News. I'm Anna Foster here in Washington, D.C., just coming round to 8:30 in the morning as America wakes up to a result which came far quicker than I think many people were anticipating. They thought it could be, as it was back in 2020, a case of days before we knew who the next president would be. But in the early hours of this morning, it was confirmed Donald Trump, and it looks like he's taken potentially a complete sweep of those crucial swing states. So let's get reaction from two of them just now, Arizona and Pennsylvania. Joining me from Phoenix is the broadcaster Gail Bass. And from Pittsburgh, we're joined by Marty Griffin, who's host of the conservative leading radio station KDKA. Good morning to both of you, the morning after the night before. Gail, to you first of all, what do you make not just of this result, but of the decisive nature of it?
Well, you know, the last time that George W. Bush won a second time, the first time he didn't win the popular vote, the second time that he did, I think that there is a grievance culture in America where you have two sides. We are very divided. And the other side was not paying attention to the tea leaves because they're saying, you know, this is economic prosperity. Sorry. The wind just blew across my camera. So I think that people think that it's going to be a return to what they wanted the first time because we went through an economic crisis. And if you read what The Economist says, Biden got us out of that. But people didn't see that. They don't see that. They're saying now it's a return to prosperity. But if you look at the economic reports, it is what it is. Plus, you know, it was a hard charge for an African-American woman to win this election, especially when she had an unpopular person going in before her. She had 3 months to run. She raised over $1 billion, but it just wasn't enough.
Marty, you've been talking to people on your show day in, day out for weeks, for months. What were the key issues that were really driving their vote this time round?
Look, I grew up here. Born and raised, family, immigrants from Italy and Ireland, the old country, as we like to say. And your average Pittsburgher, we call them Yinzers. What does that mean? It's a dialect. Hey, Yin's going down to vote for Harris. And here's what Pittsburghers, union folks, lifelong Democrats said, I ain't voting for no Kamala Harris. I ain't voting for no Democrat. And that's what happened. And by the way, this is historic. Let me throw a couple numbers at you.
Marty,
union guys, and I mean
before
hard.
You do, Marty, I'm really keen to dig in. They said that they were never going to vote Democrat, but what is the thing that makes them so reluctant to change sides? What are the things that keep them Republican?
No. They never voted Republican in their lives. They've been Democrat for 70 years. 70 years. This is historic. This is massive. And I'll tell you what it was. It was money. And they said, to hell with her. And I'm serious about this. They said, to hell with the Progressive Party. Let me throw a number at you. They polled union guys, and I'm talking about hardcore truckers, coal miners, steel workers. At least half who have voted Democrat their entire lives voted for Trump this time. Can I read a couple of texts that came in from players? And when I say players, I mean big shots, guys that matter. And these are the highs and lows, and this is the still divided America. From a very, very successful attorney, look at your stock portfolio today, because as you know, stock futures are way up. This is from a high-ranking political leader. Marty, 78-year-old convicted felon that's basically certifiably insane, this is verbatim, beats a 60-year-old progressive black female that wants to pay for prisoners' transgender sex operations and has done nothing the past 4 years as vice president, especially with borders, et cetera. One more, please. Is a lifelong Democrat, someone that I went to high school with, and he's always voted Democrat. Very, very successful in real estate. Look, quote, Marty, America's a much better place today. If you leave the proximity of the city of Pittsburgh, it's all Republican. And I mean just about the entire state is red. Dramatic shift and a pushback against progressives, quite frankly, big time.
Gail, let's just pick up particularly on some of those text messages that Marty was talking about there, some of the ideas, the understandings that people had about Kamala Harris's campaign, some suggestions there, not anything that she was ever talking about or promising during the campaign. Where do you think the divide was? Why didn't that message that she was putting across, that message of positivity that she was trying to put across, why didn't that resonate in these swing states?
Well, it was a culture war, and think about it. You know, you had Trump going on like bro shows, and she was trying to be above the fray and do what we used to do, and just basically talk to TV stations and radio stations. And the game has changed, and he is right. You know, my dad is from Pittsburgh. He was a union guy before he moved to California before I was born. And I see with union people in California and Arizona, Arizona's a right to work state. You don't have to join the union. I was surprised growing up, coming to realize that there were union people who would vote for Republicans. I just thought it wasn't done because my dad was from Pittsburgh. They all voted Democratic. But there is a sea change about how people feel about things, and they see things that they think, well, that's not the way we want to go. Yes, Arizona, where I am, they have made sure that women have the right to choose. They put it in the Constitution. But as far as the economy, they think things are going to be better under Trump, where the fact is, we were not economically doing well under Trump when he left office during the pandemic, and Joe Biden helped us crawl back. And economists will tell you when Democrats go into office, they do better with the economy. People did not see that message, and that's just it. All they heard were ads saying she wants to pay for transgender operations while people are in prison. And people in America think when you go to jail, you don't get any rights like that.
Gail Bass in Phoenix, Marty Griffin in Pittsburgh, thank you for joining us. Lucy, what I think is really interesting today is because we've spoken, haven't we, over weeks, over months, to people, to voters all across the US here on BBC News. And it's really interesting, I think, to see which of those messages resonated with people. You know, which ones, as Gail was describing there, really cut through. And I think at the bottom of all of this, and certainly people I've been speaking to here, when it came down to it, it came down to the economy. I think for so many people, when that moment came yesterday, for the ones who were voting in person, when they were pressing that button on the electronic voting machine, the thing that really drove their vote was how well off they feel, how much it costs to fill their car with gas, how far their wages are going. And in the end, the personalities, all of those things are important, but it really comes down to those basic issues, doesn't it, wherever you are in the world?
Indeed, Anna, it's a fascinating conversation as well. I loved it listening to Marty and Gail.